So the research paper requires that you incorporate text, and there are a lot of rules in doing so. There are two types of blending. There's syntactical blending, and then there's also the kind of blending that requires you to color the text so that people understand why you're including it. There are some basic rules, and here are the first few. I put this one in red because it's the most important. Unless indicated by brackets or parentheses, changes must not be made in spelling, capitalization, or interior punctuation of the author or source. So this is particularly important as you are incorporating text if you feel like you need to change anything so that it blends better with your own words into your own sentence, then you're going to need to ensure that you use brackets, those square brackets that are to the right hand side of your keyboard, in order to enclose those. The thing that I say is easiest is to quote only fragments or phrases, clauses, rather than complete sentences. That is typically the easiest thing to do. Now, don't change any spelling or capitalization except to put a period at the end of your sentence. What you need to know, you have to do this so that you don't just plunk or drop an entire large quote into a sentence. It is something that is required when you get into college. It looks refined and elegant when you do it correctly. And it helps to elevate the style of your writing. So no plunking or dropping quotes. This is what I mean by that. Do you see how in this example there is the author's words plunked directly in the middle of the writer's words? So all the writer's words would be in black. See how that's like completely separate sentences surrounding another complete sentence from the author. That is not blending. What that is what I call plunking or dropping, because it hasn't been incorporated in any kind of way. This is to be discouraged. We should never plunk or drop. You always have to integrate it naturally into your own words. So I technically show you three methods. Now there are some variations of the methods, and some people say there are 5 or 6 different ways, but they really all fall under these 3 categories. And so the 3 methods are: 1, blend naturally with your own words, and there are a couple of versions of doing that. 2, using a colon, and the colon is a very easy method, but it should be used only sparingly. You only want to use a colon to blend when you are going to be incorporating larger text, or if for some reason, what you're providing is a list or an example of a previous statement. Number 3 is identify the speaker, and that is also one of the easiest methods. So we'll tackle number 1 first. Blend naturally with your own words. Sorry about that glitch. Okay, now we'll look at number 1. It's blend naturally with your own words, and there are 2 options for this. So the first is your words provide interpretation and context followed by the author's words. So you would use this more like with literary analysis, when it was more important for you to wrap your voice around the text. 2 is the words with your author's words divided, and that's a possibility as well. So what do I mean by blending? And blending is, as we have discussed, what it sounds like. You lift pieces from the author's text and then you put it into your own so that it seems seamless. And that's really, when you do it artfully, it should be sufficient. I'm just going to move this over here. I want you to see these examples. So if you look at what method 1 looks like, you should be able to see, I've got an example here of a topic sentence. Many university officials admit that the pressures of athleticism have caused a relaxation of standards. For instance, here is a transition leading into the context that I'm going to provide for this quote. Robert Hutchins, a former president of the University of Chicago, suggests that a college should not be interested in a fullback who is a half-wit. If you closed your eyes and listened to this being read, then you would understand that there is very little difference or distinction between the author's words and the writer's words. It is what I consider to be a very successful blend because of the fact that if I closed my eyes, I could hear it as one singular voice, and that is true blending. Now, I want you to notice the end punctuation. In MLA format, the period is always placed after the parentheses are closed, and it's always at the end of the sentence, never twice in a sentence. So I would not, for instance, put a period after wit and then a period after 77 parentheses. Now, this is the kind of attitude that can be harmful to the university and athletes themselves. Okay, another example, here's another one. I want you to see how, again, just close your eyes as I read this and you can see what I mean. Furthermore, in The Power of Myth, a conversation about mythology, Joseph Campbell enlightens Bill Moyers by claiming that a dream is a personal experience of that deep, dark ground that is the support of our conscious lives, and a myth is a society's dream. So, you can open your eyes now. The thing I want you to notice about that is that it is not far-fetched to believe that this quotation is actually part of the writer's words. And that is when I know that the writer has done this successfully. Notice how what happened, the technique that this writer used, is they picked up a small little phrase, a dream is a personal dream, and it's actually a complete sentence, and what that writer did was place it in a clause in a larger sentence, placing the word that in front of it. And this is how you achieve the blend. One other thing I wanted to point out here is that it's important to use the correct transitions. Transitions can note time, first, second, third, next, after, etc. Cause, effect, similarity. It's important for you to choose the right transition. Look at the content of what the quotation is saying. Look at the content of what you have just said. Does the information you're going to provide contrast? If so, use a contrasting one. Does it show an effect? Use an effect one, etc. I feel like it's important that as you're doing this and you're learning how to blend, you understand that blending is not just a singular thing. It requires an understanding of the content, the relationship between ideas, and the syntax that's required to put grammatical pieces together. We're going to continue this lecture in part 2.